What's pop, lock, and dropping, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Alist After Dark. I am your girl, Angie, and this is...
You know who it be, LeBron James, the Red Game. Me, electrifying man, the media day. My mama named me Kevin, though, so they call me Kevin Pride, 950 Kev. So many names, so little time. It's Angie's world, and that's what it's all about.
That's what's up. What's popping, Kev? As y'all see, I got my boy Kev back in the building for another episode of A-List After Dark. How are you?
Like I always say, Angie, any day above dirt, it's a blessed day. And I'm above dirt. We're above dirt, so it's a blessed day. I can't complain.
Definitely. I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't see y'all all week. It has been a crazy week for me. But I said, you know what? Today's Friday. The week is over. I'm drinking
my mama's birthday. I can't complain.
Oh, happy birthday to Mama Kev. Mama 950.
It's a big birthday weekend, the Pryor family. Today is my mother, tomorrow's my nephew, and Sunday's rodeo. So
that's what's up. So what y'all doing this weekend? Y'all having some celebrations?
I stopped over to my mother's earlier. You know, my mother ain't celebrating. 87, all her celebrating is gonna be done in the house.
Right.
My nephew turns 18. I'm trying to stretch, bring him out a little bit, but I'm getting a little resistance. Rodeo, we'll probably discuss it. My birthday's the 19th of May, so it's
that's what's up.
It's a touristy type thing for us.
It's a touristy type thing. I remember my 18th birthday, and my older cousins took me out to a club in the city. I still got pictures of the day that I went to my first club. It's an exciting time. I was drinking prior to. Oh no, was that 21? How old was I? I was 18 when I went to my first club.
Mm-hmm.
I was drinking, of course, in college. You know, you drinking prior to 21. And then when I turned 21, I went to my very first 21 and older club. And that was lit. That's the good one.
Yeah.
The 18, it's like, okay. The clubs are still like kind of corny, the 18 and older ones. When you get to that 21, you think you made it.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like the times have changed, but yet are still the same. I know, like for me, at that age, it was just about ripping and running. These kids today they just want to live in front of a computer.
Yeah, no. I want to be outside.
Yeah, exactly. Too much outside.
So cheers, Kev. I got my Ciroc Peach with some ice right now on the rocks. What you drinking, Kev?
I got some yak. Since they ain't promoting and putting no money into this show, I'm only saying yak.
All right, cheers to you, Kev. Cheers to everybody. It's Friday. If you're watching this, I'm gonna put this out tonight. If you watching this on a Friday night and you home and you smoking and you drinking, just cheers with us. Have a drink.
You made it. You alive. Something to be proud
of. We made it another week. That is what's up. This was such a long week, but I guess we could get started because we haven't seen them since last week and a lot has been going on.
Yeah.
So I know I haven't tapped into my channel since. Before I get into that, I'm bugging. Make sure y'all check youtube.com/Angie's World. Every Sunday, I come out with an interview. So last Sunday, I dropped the interview with myself, Kev, and Lydia. We did a deep dive on Pretty Privilege. So it's Pretty Privilege Part 2. Check out Part 1 and Part 2. This Sunday, I'm dropping another interview. This one is a banger. Y'all do not want to miss it. Shout out to Twitter. Shout out to Facebook. Shout out to YouTube, Instagram, Clubhouse, my whole internet family, wherever you tapping in from. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you for being here every single Sunday. I got new interviews that drop. And then, A-List After Dark. I felt like, I felt guilty. I'm like, I got to check in with my A-List fam. I try to do a couple times a week, but y'all haven't seen me all week. So I wanted to come today and kick it with y'all and have some conversations with y'all in case y'all missed my face back in the building. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Angie's World. Make sure y'all follow Kev. He's at 950 Kev and tap in with me. I was All Things Angie's World on Instagram, but I changed the name. So I'm at Angie's World Podcast. If you want to follow me on Instagram, at Angie's World Podcast. Kev is at 950 Kev, or his stuff is going to be in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's go. First things first, let's see what is going on. All right, here we go. I don't know if you saw this, but Meg the Stallion sits down with Gayle King. Are you aware of what's going on?
Yes, I'm aware. I guess obviously, this is when you try to take the next step up in your interview game. There's, obviously you got like all the blogs and stuff. Then you got the Gail King. Then the next one is Oprah. You know what I'm saying? If you're on the sports side, maybe it's the Brian Gumbles or what have you. But in the media entertainment side, this is tier 2. So she's taking the next step up to try to, again, she's starting to get a lot of heat, and obviously her people want to take it to a more
Broad,
exclusive, a more,
broad audience outside of hip hop.
yeah, exactly, a more, more of a trauma type conversation with Gail King. We know Gail King is a famous reporter that sat down with R. Kelly, so we know how she gets down. So yeah, I guess all this stuff is about perception. So I think it's a good move.
Have you heard the interview with Megan and Gail King?
Pieces of it, Angie. Sometimes some of these things I just can't stomach. It's like, and I don't want you to beat me up, but sometimes it's just a situation where like everybody's wrong, and it's like the race begins to say, hey, they're more wrong than I am, or I'm the victim. Then they all at fault. There's so much gray with this whole case, with this shooting. It's gives enough to give you a headache.
Yeah. I think that people are very divided after they saw the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Some people were moved and touched by the interview. Others were skeptical because did you see the part where Gail asked her if she was intimate with what's his name? Tory Lanez, and she kind of hesitated and she was like, well, what you mean by intimate?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It's like everybody's playing a role in this, and they both played a role in this situation. Now I understand some, she got wounded, but they all play a role in this. And again, like I said, even with Gail King, like that's why Oprah maybe ain't hanging out with her no more. This is not even, to me. This is not even like this is not even like her level. No disrespect to Megan, but it's just like when you're used to reporting on world news and wars and president elections, and now you're talking about Megan Thee Stallion, you done dropped a couple of pegs yourself. You can't go from talking about Obama to talk about Megan Thee Stallion. Listen, you can say what you want. That's a couple pegs down on the scale, and that is not a good look.
I don't think that. Okay, this is what I think, right? I think that the situation that happened with Meg Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez and whoever was there that day, I think that story is really unfortunate and sad, and she was hurt and she was shot and there's bullet fragments still in her foot.
Right.
And I just think that this story is bigger, I think, than just hip hop, or bigger than like an A-list.
That's why she's sitting with Gail King, because it's about that.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's where the problem lies. That it's like
wait, let me finish my opinion.
I apologize.
Y'all be telling me Kev be interrupting me. Hold on a second, Kev. Let me just get through my point. I got you. I promise.
No, go ahead. Do you think?
So real quick. Let me get back to what I was saying. So I think this is bigger than an A-list reporter interviewing a Houston rapper about another rapper, like rapper beef. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's bigger than that. When you have stories like Rihanna, and you have stories like Evelyn Lozada and Chad Ochocinco and Meg Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez, you start getting into like domestic abuse. What does that mean? Victims, speaking out. You get into the Me Too movement. You get into something that's bigger than, just an A-list reporter interviewing a hip hop superstar. So I think when I watched the interview, I was all with Megan. Do I think she could possibly, when she said that she didn't have sex with Tory Lanez? My thing is, I always thought they did have sex. I thought they were sleeping together, and I thought they were in a relationship. She said she didn't have sex with him. I mean, do I believe it? I mean, I don't know. Probably not. But even if she's lying about that, it doesn't mean her whole entire story is a lie. Maybe they didn't have sex. Maybe they just had oral. Maybe they weren't like, who knows what they did? Or maybe he's acting like this for a box that he never even got. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? But go ahead, Kev, because I see you got something to say.
No, I agree with you. The story is a bigger circumference than what about just these two people. All I'm saying is that I understand this woman got shot, and that's not good. But the reality is that there's so much wrong. So what the picture they're gonna paint is that, Tory Lanez is this, is this abuser and everything. All I'm saying is that there's two sides to this story. And while, yes, there's somebody got wounded, there's two sides. So that, again, by going to Gayle King, that now tries to broaden the brush like I'm this victim. And I'm not saying she's not. I'm just saying, when you dance with something, sometimes who you're doing the tango with. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to, try to make this small lighter than what it is. It's a horrible situation. But by going to Gayle King now, it's almost like you're saying, hey, you know what? I was this little lamb, and I was the big bear wolf was wearing sheep's clothing, and I just I just don't feel it's right. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
You know what? I don't think it's a smear campaign on Tory. I think that, like we said, it opens up bigger conversations, because a lot of times when women are victimized like this, especially when you come from a certain, because it's bigger than this. Like when you watch her interview, she even talks about the fact that this happened during the height of the George Floyd situation. And even after she was shot by him, she wanted to protect him. So she originally told the cops that she stepped on glass. Like us women.
That doesn't even make sense, Angie. She said she wasn't in a relationship with him.
Us women as victims, like we were, especially if we're raised by certain parents or around, a certain street culture. I was raised like I remember my mom telling me all the time, because my mom was with a street dude. My dad was a street dude. You know what I'm saying? He was involved in criminal activities. So the worst thing you could be as a woman is a cop caller. My mother said, you never be a cop caller. I don't care what happens. You hit them back. You never call the cops. That's like the worst thing you could do. And Meg, she said during the interview, like, she wanted to protect them all. It wasn't only protecting Tory. It was, okay, I got shot. He shot me, but I'm trying to protect, like, as a victim. And people don't want to acknowledge that. Like, people keep focusing on Meg is sitting down with Gayle King and trying to slander a black man. It's way bigger than that. It opens up so many issues that women face being victimized, being a victim and still protecting the man, or being a victim and still having that nurturing protection and trying to protect everybody in the car. Victims being silenced, the fact that she is a victim, and we have like a sickening amount of men that's like taking a stand against her, whether it's rooms on Clubhouse calling her a lion, bitch, with Whack 100 at the spearhead of all these rooms, or, Joe Budden, which we're going to talk about after this. He's under fire because he's already been in, the news over the years of being an alleged abuser, with several victims coming out. So we're going to get into that story, him coming out against Meg. And it's just all of the beating up that a woman has to take when they do come out and they really are a victim. It's, oh, you're lying. Why didn't you speak up earlier? There's people that have gotten raped and haven't spoken up for 20 years. No, you understand? So and then so it's like, I see like all the other doors and all the other avenues as a victim that this conversation opened up. It's not, when I thought about it, I didn't think about it in a way like Meg did this interview to tear down a black man or to tear down Tory Lanez. I was listening to what she was saying, and I identified her as a woman in just so many ways, So, I mean, in the process, it is not good for Tory. It's making him look worse. But if he did do this crime and she is telling the truth, then she's owed an apology from a lot of people.
My thing is how are you nurturing and protecting somebody that you're saying you're not in a relationship with?
It doesn't matter. They could have been kicking it. She said they were really, really close friends. She said this was at the height of the George Floyd thing. This is when, I mean, if you take yourself back to that time, the George Floyd thing, you know what I'm saying? It was a really bad time. You know, people were getting killed left and right. People were, looting stores, breaking windows. Crime was high. Here they are, 4 black people in a car. Shots rang out in the middle of Calabasas. The cops don't know that's Tory Lanez and Meg the Stallion in there. It's just 4 black people in the car. She don't know what's going on. He bust shots. She shot. Her ankles are grazed. She's bleeding. The first thing that comes in her head is, cops, no, I stepped on glass, because we're always taught not to speak to cops. You can't say how somebody like is going to react in that time. She said, I was never shot before. She was walking away from the car and he's like, dance BITCH, and was busting at, I guess he probably didn't mean to maybe like point blank, shoot at her head or her back. If he was saying dance BITCH, he probably was busting at the ground, making her dance, like, trying to like move her feet. Maybe he didn't realize he was going to graze her heels. You know what I'm saying? And she's in the middle of this whole thing. Now they're under the influence. So now it's like, oh, SHIT. Now, phew, cops, and it's, oh, I stepped on glass, trying to get out the situation, trying to protect everybody. You never know how you're going to act during this type of situation.
Well, that's true, but there's 2 sides. And again, like my mom always said, there's 2 sides of every story, and there's the truth. So I'm not saying obviously somebody got hurt, so something happened. I'm just saying that.
And to this day, there's bullet fragments in her feet.
Okay, that happens sometimes when you get shot. But what I'm trying to say is that there's 2 sides to the story. Again, it's and then there's the truth. So until we kind of garner everything, it's just her interpretation. And again, people pick sides, and that's not always healthy. But that's why, with me personally, I can't get with it, because again, it's just one side of the story. You know, if you're saying that, okay, what you're talking about is people in relationships and long term and having abuse, mental and physical, but still protecting the person. This is not that situation. This is something they say they were friends and
close friends.
Okay, close friends.
I have a desire to protect my close friend.
I understand that. But what I'm trying to say is that there are 2 sides, then there's the truth. It's just that because she got hurt, people will perceive her side more because she's a victim of getting hurt, of being shot. But there's 2 sides to every story. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
That's all.
I agree.
I don't want the A-list fans to think I'm trying to, interrupt the queen, but I'm just making a point.
Hell no. Listen,
I've already played.
No, but I think it is all in how men. I think like men look at it like, oh, you're trying to tear down an innocent black man. I've heard a lot of men, kind of like. I don't
think it has anything to do with that. I just think that, again, I mean, we as men as well, as a man myself, we've seen, I've heard, it's been stories. I mean, I could take you to, a guy, look up a guy named Sean Oakman, ladies and gentlemen, Angie. Look up a guy named Sean Oakman who was on his way to the NFL, and some woman in college said he raped her. The case was denied, but it destroyed his career. All I'm saying, I'm not saying that these things don't happen. Listen, I have very close family members that I didn't know that they were going through until after the fact, and it makes you angry because you feel like I could have did something. But what I am saying is that there are 2 sides to every story, and what we have to start doing with people, not everyone, but with a lot of people, is start to hold who you're affiliating yourself with on a daily basis. I understand sometimes we have, like you mentioned, Angie, sometimes people get caught up and they don't know how to let go, and in the culture and the way you was raised. But we have to start to do a pivot and say, listen, if something's not good for me, I got to get away from it. And right. That's all I tell people. Like, you can't, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm very sympathetic to anybody who gets abused. Please understand that. Nobody deserves that. No man should ever touch a woman physically unless he's the hugger or show affection. But you got to also understand, ladies, if this man is doing you, is beating you or mentally driving you down or putting you in a position you're not happy, you got to find a way out. Yeah. It's maybe easier said than done, but you have to. You have to.
I don't know if this close friendship that they had, what there was prior like assault or abuse. I'm not speaking on that, but you also got to take into consideration. Well, I've taken into consideration their age. I remember when I was 27, Meg is like what, 25, 26, 27, and the relationship. This is in your 20s, you're still going outside of the projects, yelling up to the window, cursing him out, telling the other girl, come down, I'm gonna fight you on the corner. And you know what I'm saying? This is 15, 20 years ago for some. They're young, they got money, they're in Hollywood, they're under the influence, they're big stars, they're gonna make their mistakes. And I'm not excusing Meg, I'm not excusing Tori, but something happened there. Someone's not telling the truth. Meg is injured for life. Those bullet fragments probably will forever be in her feet if they didn't surgically remove them. There's probably a reason.
If it's fragments, they're probably there for life because
they're there for life. This girl, this is a situation that, unfortunately she has to deal with for the rest of her life, that it's impacting her career. She is a dancer. We don't know what she has to do to wear heels, what type of medicine she probably has to take, painkillers, whatever.
Probably this is all leading up to a lawsuit. This is why she's coming on shows. I mean, again, I look at it for what it is from an entertainment perspective. This is a crescendo to building a lawsuit because again, she's going to come out and use that, or her team can use that her marketability as entertainer has been damaged forever. So she didn't go to Breakfast Club. She went to Gayle King.
I would have went to Gayle King too. I would have said, I would have passed Gayle King. I would have said, bring me to Oprah. I want to see the Queen.
Oprah don't want this.
I would have said Angie. I would have said, I want to see the Queen.
Shay probably did go to Oprah and said, no, we'll give you Oprah's understudy. We give you Scottie Pippen. Taking to Gayle King.
I want Oprah.
But what I'm saying is that this is probably the buildup. And again, listen, we're seeing it get played out with Johnny Depp, right?
But it's not about money with her. Not to cut you off. She did say he offered her hush money and she didn't take it.
Yeah, but hush money and showing and making legal money and showing the world that, hey, I'm strong, I'm brave, I'm still standing strong here. It's a difference. Hush, she don't need the hush money. She probably got more money than him. So hush money. Nah, I need to save my career. I need to put this out here. And again, it's bigger than just her because she's a brand. So once you get the team start talking and like we need to do this, because if it was just her and she was like, I want to protect my friend and blah, 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 she ain't going to Gayle King.
I remember when this happened with Rihanna and nobody believed Rihanna until those pictures came out. I remember it so clear. I remember the story broke first and everybody was joking, just like this Meg stuff. Oh, she's a Caribbean woman. She probably beat his ass and da 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 da. But when those pictures came out, and we saw her looking like a potato, lumped up like that, that's when people took it seriously. Yeah. But this happens all the time. But I believe Meg. I hope that she gets justice if she's telling the truth.
Well, she got shot. So, so something happened. And
something did happen.
Right.
And for me, I don't care if this comes out 10 years down the line. Hopefully, with God by my side, I make it big and they take this little audio clip. They can say whatever they want. Me personally, my friends will tell you, I always had a weird feeling about Tory Lanez. Always, even during quarantine, when he was at his height and he was doing quarantine radio and him and Meg were on the FaceTime and Meg was twerking and they was having such a good time right before they started spending a lot of time together and he was getting all this fame. I never watched quarantine radio. I always rolled my eyes. My friends would be like, oh, did you see that episode of quarantine radio? I'm like, oh, something about him. Like he always messed with my spirit. It was just like, he always was just like, oh, to me. And when this happened, I was like, I'm not surprised. I just always had a bad feeling about him. I don't care. This could come out. Tori, I never really listened to your music because it's all, remakes of the music from my time. So I never really heard anything unique from you. And I don't know, something about you just really didn't, But look, if it's 10 years from now and you watching this and I interviewed you and we get along now, then just disregard this. But this is me saying this because I don't know him, and I always had a feeling like this with him. I don't know him as a person. This is through the screen. You know how sometimes celebrities through the screen, they can either connect with you and they could become friends in your head, or you could look at them and be like, ugh, they're annoying. You know what I'm saying?
And that's all I'm saying about the opposite side, because they are in a screen. And they're not, you don't have that personal connection. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying we know something happened because blood was spilled. She got fragments in the foot. All I'm saying is that we don't know. And when they start to paint that brush and paint those pictures, you know, anybody can look good or anybody can look bad.
Yeah. I mean, prayers to both of them. I hope that justice is served. All right, moving on. Joe Budden is under fire. He got himself in problems. Did you hear what he had to? Did you hear what he had to say on his podcast?
Well, I heard about the situation that with Tahiri that
let me go into it for them.
Yeah,
real quick. I'm gonna play what he said, and then I'm gonna go into the whole situation here. All right, let me pull this up. I just had it. Don't play with me, Shade Room. Do not play with me, Shade Room. Okay, here we go. All right, y'all. Where the hell? I think I might have to play it from here.
Yeah, he thinks it was disgusting. I mean, obviously.
Chad Johnson.
All right, hold on, y'all.
Exactly what I'm saying. Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco's ex-wife. He's in a whole new relationship. He's married. He's whatever he is, he's happy.
You can hear it?
Yep.
For years, anytime his name came up, she popped up. It had nothing to do with her, but she popped up and said, hey, he did this. It didn't matter the rehabilitation he'd done. It didn't matter the changes that he's made, the apologies, both public and private. Yo, dog, for the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years, every time I do something positive, you're going to pop up with this victim story. And you are the victim. So I don't take that away. But that's bullying. Exactly what I'm saying. Chad Johnson, Ocho's.
All right. So Joe Budden got himself into some ish. Here we go. So, all right. So Joe says that, and the Shade Room posts his quote. So Joe Budden responds in the Shade Room and says, we were discussing reactive abuse, not seemingly comparing situations. Prayers to everyone involved. So he gave the politically correct answer, right? So Evelyn Lozada jumps in the chat and said, you should have used yourself as an example and kept us the F out of it. F out of here, right? So Tahiri also stepped in, which is his long-term ex-girlfriend. And they've, for people that don't know, Joe Budden and Tahiri, they had a very publicized relationship, and they had some publicized fights that were in the media where, she was one of many women that Joe Budden was in a relationship with that claimed that she was abused by Joe Budden. I don't want to say one of many, but one of probably almost 90% of his girlfriends have had the same story about him. So Tahiri jumps in and says, the biggest blank, I don't know what that is because Shade Room gets on my nerves. The biggest blank nerves on earth. This is so wrong, so unfair. Yet he still continues to have a mic, right? And then someone said, saying she always pops up when his name is mentioned is false. Sis be drinking her water and minding her business, but would have 100% at when his name pops up. This is not the 1950 Survivor. Do not have to be silent, period. And they don't like it. They always have an option of keeping his hands to himself. So Evelyn Lozada said, now leave me alone. I have been minding my own business, taking care of my kids. Now you should do the same. Narcissist, abuser, shame on you. Another fan said, Joe, you beat the literal baby out of your ex-girlfriend. Please shut up. And so Evelyn says, disgusting human. How do you even still have a platform to speak on anyone's abusive relationship? Another fan said, wow, victims are now the bullies. What the F? Evelyn said, don't ever let anyone stop you from speaking up. Evelyn shares what Chad Ocho Cinco did to her. And then she says, my life matters, so I spoke up. Domestic violence survivor. I'm going to keep screaming to the heavens no matter what another abuser has to say about my past abusive relationship. Then she put, let's not forget, Joe Budden should, at the real Tahiri's let's not forget Joe Budden. Should the real Tahiri post her pictures? So Tahiri posts Evelyn, and she says, Evelyn, I'm so sorry. Nobody should ever have to go through this. I'm shaking. He fractured my rib and punched me in my face. I don't have pictures, but I'm sure his other exes do. So Tahiri Jose responds to Evelyn Lozada's request to upload pictures of Joe Budden's alleged abuse against her, which included a fractured rib and a punch to the face. Tahiri says she does not have pictures, but claims Joe's ex-girlfriends do. So Joe Budden is under fire for speaking. I listened to that whole segment on Joe Budden's podcast. Now, I've been a Joe Budden fan for a really long time, since the very beginning, since Joe Budden TV. I think he's charismatic. I think that he has so many good qualities. I think he's entertaining. I love his podcast. But however, you know, I have been around and watched his personal relationships unfold, and I do think that he has a very sketchy past with fighting and domestic abuse in his relationships. I do believe the women, and you know, there were women that even worked on the Joe Budden network that spoke out against him for, you know, alleged sexual harassment. And I think that, you know, he still has a lot to learn when it comes to women's health, women's issues, and, you know, controlling his temper in his younger years when it came down to relationships. Do you think that he has what do you think about him being under fire now for this whole thing?
Well, first and foremost, the conversation he brought up and what obviously offended Evelyn Lozada is like, look, you're a public figure, so your name is going to come out. It's just like, you know, from a totally different situation, Kevin Durant getting mad at Charles Barkley for mentioning his name. When you're a public figure, people are going to make you know, scenarios and analogies that is going to come up. I didn't necessarily, I mean, obviously, I think Joe was trying to bring up something. And again, when you bring up something, you have to be prepared for somebody to come back at you. That's the world we live in. We live in a technology era. It's not the Walter Cronkite era where it's just one person talking to us to millions of people and there's no reception back. We get reception back, and that reception did come back. Now again, you throw stones, you live in a glass house, you're gonna have a lot of glass on the floor, and it's just the reality of it. And when you make these scenarios, these comments, which is kind of scary because we do shows as well. And while maybe, you know, the audience or, you know, people might say, oh, well, you're not Joe Budden, you're not this one and that one. I know we come on a lot of markets with 950, and I've had situations where we've had to kind of like use restraint and use different forms of communication to get our points across. Because again, what happens is now here comes trickle down effect, right? Whether whatever Joe did in the past or what have you, or with Chad, now all of a sudden those things come back, those images come back. Those images are hard to look at. You have these networks and these shows are by sponsors. These sponsors do not want to be engaged with somebody that they have to constantly have to make statements on why they're promoting something. So you got to realize that, you know, yeah, I'm going to say what I want and I'm going to do that. But this is the new day and age where you say what you want and I can hit you back in 20 minutes or 10 seconds even.
Right.
Because it's coming in real time. So, and Joe knows that. But I don't think he was expecting Evelyn Lozada to come at him on it, and she did.
He dropped the ball because where he messed up was he could have just used Evelyn Lozada and Ocho Cinco, but he went and called Evelyn a bully. But Evelyn, whenever you Google Chad Ocho Cinco, is like Googling Chris Brown and Rihanna's abuse pops up.
That's not her issue.
By default, that's always going to be attached. It's not that Evelyn screams, I was abused. Evelyn haven't spoke about that abuse in years.
Right.
If you listen to the whole clip, Joe kind of went in hard on women. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing where Joe is tone deaf. Joe is the last person on earth that should have inserted himself in anything involving domestic disputes, because he was the poster child for domestic disputes for a long time. Right. So I think he was just tone deaf with that. Well, I think that there's certain sides of Joe Budden that is so like just awesome. But I think that dark side, when it comes to fighting with women and sexual harassment and allegations of domestic abuse. He has this whole dark side, as do all of us. We're not perfect. We all have a side, you know?
I don't think that he was showing the dark side. I think, again, what he was trying to do was speak up for Chad. Now, what Chad Johnson did that night obviously cost him the end of his NFL career. So he lost something as well. He lost something as well.
But he had a whole string of stuff. He had already put down Meg, spoke up for Tory. Then he was speaking up for Chad. Then he was putting women down. It was just, and then he segued into him going to a strip club. And when he sees girls scraping money off the floor, he started like going into kind of degrading women at the strip club. That whole spiel that he did.
He's got some issues.
It's got some women hate issues in there.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I remember when he was with that person, I'm not going to say her name, and they had a fight. They broke up, and she alleged that he stomped out her kid. She was pregnant with his baby or twins or something like that. I remember that whole thing. And they fought. And she alleged that she got a miscarriage from an altercation with Joe Budden. I remember that whole thing. He's the last person that should be speaking about domestic abuse.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And speaking of which, Moneybag Yo's girlfriend, Ari, she was sipping one day. Like, you see how we're on here sipping, talking? Mm. And she said something on one of her lives about domestic abuse and kind of like undermining it, and she got her Savage Fenty deal taken from her. They dropped her as an ambassador.
These are privileges. They're not rights. I mean, so again,
and you're gonna say that you're a Savage Fenty ambassador of the poster child of domestic abuse, which is Rihanna. You know she don't play that, and you on live talking down about women who get abused. You bugging
again. You know, you can only put the mascara on before it starts to run, and when it runs, then here comes the real you. So, again, I don't really follow Joe Budden's podcast, to be quite honest with you. I thought he was really good years ago on the radio. I think now he's become more of a shock jock of a way, and and people use that, just to kind of, I got you, or this is part of the game, because again, there'll be another side of the audience, how we're talking here. There'll be another side of the audience that will say, yeah. And it's a conglomerate of people who believe all news is good news. I don't believe that, but there's a lump of people who feel like, hey, as long as they're talking about you, you're doing something right. But what that does do is affects your money. It affects your advertising. Now, again, I don't know who's backing Joe. I don't really follow it, but if it's organizations that are really deep in the public and saying, hey, you know what, you're kind of like our ambassador to that demographic you're talking to, that can affect the money flow. So you got to be smart. I'm not by any sense of imagination, because I do this, I don't believe in censoring. I believe, hey, just speak your mind. Everybody's not going to like what you say, but you got to be smart where you don't offend or incite,
a community.
That are just bigger than maybe the subject you're talking about, which can happen. I mean, again, I've been doing this 8 years. It can happen where you say something and go, wow, that's a snowball, and it's happened. But again, he's got to realize that that when you take that level of approach, it can come back to bite you.
And he's being cocky with it, because the Shade Room posted somebody saying like, oh, they trying to cancel Joe Budden, and he was like, I can't be canceled. So that kind of rubbed people the wrong way too. Like, I don't know.
He gotta live it now. I mean, that's not his style. He's not gonna moonwalk it. He's going to double down, and that's what he's going to do. That's what he's done, obviously.
Yeah, shout out to Joe. I just, I think he's a good person, and I've been watching, we've known Joe Budden in New York City from being on the radio and Pump It Up, and since he was younger. And I've been listening to that podcast from episode 1, where it was Marissa Mendez and Peter Rosenberg on there, and Rory, they brought in later. So they're on episode 500 and something.
Let me ask you something, Angie. And again, maybe we don't necessarily agree on it, what he said, but isn't he not open to having his point of view on things. Like if he's saying he go to a strip club and watching women on their knees, is that wrong for him to say? If that's how he really believes, that's how he really feels, is it wrong to him having that opinion?
No, it's not wrong. I mean, listen, it's funny to me. Like, it's funny to me to listen to men degrade a particular demographic of women when you frequent you worship and you frequent those clubs a lot. If it turns you off to see women on their knees scraping up dollar bills, you can always go to classier gentlemen's clubs where they don't throw money and they place the dollar amount in the negligee. There are some strip clubs where women don't twerk, women don't get on the floor. There's a different level of class. So it's funny to me because a lot of the men that have so much to say about a caliber of women, they're uneducated, can't spell, on that level too. It's not like these men are sophisticated businessmen that are hanging out at this caliber. You're down here talking about women on the same level as you, because these are spots that you're frequenting.
But isn't that the level most people hate on, their level? You can try to hate on somebody who's high up, but they so high up you break your neck. Most of the time, people hate on the things that they can see at their level. It's the same guy that's in the street, the same girl that lives in the same neighborhood. We normally as people hate the things that we can touch when we should try to uplift because we're all on the same boat. I
agree. So that's why I look at it from the outside and I'm like, you're no better. Like you're down here too. So like,
but
what
my question was to you: Is he entitled to that opinion?
He is entitled, but you know how sometimes people with opinions that shouldn't even be talking, you're just like, you saying that?
Because my thing is that people have problems, especially in this new day and age, this new media, right? People have problems what people say or believe. Like I know I hear people knock the Kevin Samuels stuff and Joe Budden and others, but you don't have to listen. You could just turn it off. It's so
I'm invested. I've been
not you. I'm talking about just in general. There are people who watch this stuff and go, I hate what he said. How can he say that? Well, you're giving them fire. You're giving them fuel. Because if you didn't watch it and more people didn't just turned it off and ignored it, they wouldn't have an audience.
I'm not going to lie, because I'm so invested and I am like a real Joe Budden fan. I didn't jump on the bandwagon. I did Everyday Struggle and his podcast and everything. I'm still invested. So like, I even have friends where I might not agree with them on their take about women, or I might not agree with them on certain things, but I still like them as a person. That whole like 10 minutes of him going on from the Meg thing to the Chad thing to the strip club thing, that whole segment, if I was a producer on there, I would have beeped certain things, edited certain things out, and I would have said, I don't think this is a good look. The rest of the podcast, I mean, I'm invested in all of them. You know what I'm saying? And I know someone personally that's involved in that show. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say whether that person's on the mic or behind the scenes, but I like that camp. You know what I'm saying? So it's certain things that I hear and I'm just kind of like,
well, it's going to have to be your guilty pleasure, because this is nothing new with Joe. I mean, Joe has been that same candid, in your face. Again, he's a shot. He's a Howard Stern. He's a star. It's like Star and Buck. He brings that type of energy. So you're gonna hear things if you subscribe to him. You're gonna hear things once in a while that you just ain't gonna flow with. But again, I tell that to people who say, "Well, I can't stand that. He's this and that." Well, you don't have to engage. I'm sure he's at a level right now where it's like, "Look, if you don't like what I say, then turn me off."
Right. I don't know, but I just think that he's going to continue to go under fire. I don't think this is over. The last scandal that he was in was one of the women left his network. He started after Rory and Maul left him and started their own thing. He started a Joe Budden network where he had a couple of podcasts that he was under his umbrella with women in it.
Right.
And one of the women that were on one of the podcasts, filed a sexual harassment complaint against him and left the show. So he was under fire for that. And it's like the same kind of stories keep coming up for him. I think he should really be quiet on certain opinions.
He's at a level, and again, obviously with streaming, we know streaming is taking over. Alist, At the Dark, Non-Free Lounge, all these other programs. But remember one thing: It's a reason why certain people are not networked, or certain people's shows are not advertised on multiple levels. Joe Budden has a kind of a cult following. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that where
Yeah.
people just like they rock with him, and because of technology, he's found
Yeah.
a niche. He's found a lane for himself.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the where he was on before, the clear channels with the hot 90s. He don't need those networks.
Yeah. He has
But
his
if he
own
would-
platform.
Right. So with that being said, having your own platform, you can say what the hell you want. Now, again,
Right.
doesn't mean that, you could be derogatory and disrespectful, because even the streaming networks will eventually start to come at you that you place your content
And
on,
you could
because-
lose your audience because you're nothing without the following.
Right.
If you
But I
start
don't-
turning people off, it'll
Exactly.
show up in your ticket sales, because he's doing a tour now.
Right.
With I know that he's always Joe Budden has always prided himself in not having commercials and sponsors on his podcast. Even when he had the deal with Spotify, he doesn't do any readings, he doesn't do sponsorships, he doesn't have commercials. There's other hip hop podcasts you're listening to a read every 5 minutes. Amsterdam Vodka, this, that, the
Right.
third. He doesn't have any of those, but I do know he's working with venues. Obviously, they're housing him when they do his tour, so you don't want to piss off those people, and
Well,
you don't
it's
want to piss
always-
off your audience.
You always got to answer to somebody, whether you
Right.
want to do advertising or not. You still answering to somebody. If he's on YouTube and these other platforms, YouTube is not going to allow
Yeah.
the Joe Budden show to screw up their larger advertisers. So
Yeah, and I've noticed with
right.
YouTube, I've noticed, which you know what, I have noticed this recently. It's
Mhm.
kind of been getting on my nerves, but I guess they have to do it. They never had censorship on their podcast, right? I am so tired of the beep, beep, beep,
Yeah.
every other word on his podcast. And I'm like, this reminds me of radio. You know how like the FCC, you would whatever?
Well,
Podcasts are starting to be like that too. I'm
get
like,
used to it. FCC is coming.
I was like, damn, that's the only thing, because I feel like, I've been listening to his podcast 5+ years, and this is the year, especially after that sexual harassment complaint with that woman on his thing, on his network. It's a lot of censorship, a lot of beeps now on his show, and that's why I don't enjoy that. I was like, let me know the real deal. I want to be in the conversation.
Again, my day job is in compliance, so I have a little bit of insight on that, intel on that. No matter what, if you have a licensed business or you're employing people where they're W-2s or 1099s, once you enter into that lane, there's a certain decorum you have to represent. You just can't just it ain't the street no more. It ain't just two people talking on YouTube. So again, these are things that, I really employ people to do, is start to gain a business acumen, especially if you're looking to take your brands to another level, because you'll be in a situation. There's probably something that I don't know what their thing was, but there's probably a situation when they had that lawsuit, they probably didn't think nothing about it, because we just doing what we do, because you keep that, like we talk about in the show a lot, that mentality that you've grown and is ingrained in you from your childhood and your environment. So they probably just doing stuff they always did.
Yeah.
And probably to the naked eye, it wasn't even that bad. But again, in a corporate environment, you can't even say hun. Hey,
Yeah.
good morning, hun.
Yep.
He
He didn't know any of that.
Right.
He didn't know any of that.
And that's a problem, because you can't start growing a business and not have those things in place. So
that's what people were telling him when he opened up his network. I don't even think he's doing the network. I have to watch it because DJ Academic sat down with him, and I know on Spotify I have to listen to the interview, but he did Academics had an excerpt, and Joe Budden spoke a little bit about what happened in his network. I don't know if it's still active now. I don't know what's going on, but definitely
if you have a network. If you do a real network, and I can speak for this from what we're doing with some of the things I'm in. You have investors, and if you have investors, those investors are normally tied into whether they're corporations or even if they're individuals. Those individuals still have portfolios. So once this is anybody out there looking to grow a business, whether it's entertainment or retail, whatever it is. Once you start putting things on paper and signing, and you need to you got to button up. This is not no more Cash App and PayPal type money. You got to button up. So
exactly.
Lessons to be learned. Right.
That's so true. All right, let's get into this. We got 2 more stories to go. Let's get into this over here. 6ix9ine gets swung on in a Miami club. Did you see what happened?
No, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
All right. So 6ix9ine is messy. All right. Let's see if I can pull this up real quick.
Why would anybody be surprised that he would get into a fight in Miami?
He's still, taunting people. He's still doing certain things. Look, I'm not a street person, so I would need to have somebody with a little bit more street knowledge to break down this story, but I'm going to break it down the Angie way. If I say it wrong, if I'm missing any details, any of my hood subscribers that be into the street, whatever, y'all could just tell me what happened in the comments if I got anything wrong. So apparently, 6ix9ine was taunting Lil Durk, or had like beef with Lil Durk. I think Lil Durk was really cool with King Von. King Von got murdered, whatever the case is, right? So there's like 2 guys that are out right now. I don't know if you saw them, the fake Drake and the fake Lil Durk. Have you seen them?
Mm-hmm.
You saw what they look like?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Lil Durk, the fake Lil Durk, was with the actual Lil Durk. They were doing business. He was bringing him on shows, this, that, and the third. Mm-hmm. Somehow or another, Lil Durk either runs into 6ix9ine or was booked through 6ix9ine's manager to be around 6ix9ine. I don't know what happened, but the kid is like 16 years old. He looks really young. Mm-hmm. 6ix9ine, they rolled the cameras. 6ix9ine got some type of jacket on, like takes this jacket or whatever with, I think, King Von's face on it or something like that, and goes behind the kid and drapes it on his shoulders and kind of puts it on camera to taunt little Durk or like antagonize him. It was a bad look for everybody involved because you're antagonizing Lil Durk, you're taking advantage of this young kid. And then it was like this whole big back and forth, whether the kid took money for this, whether the kid knew what was going on, what 6ix9ine was trying to do. Another rapper, 42 Doug, inserted himself in it. He said he was going to fight 6ix9ine. It was a mess. So right after that exchange, like after he did that with that Lil Durk, whatever, I guess he was in a club in Miami and he was walking and some guy decided to like swing on him. And you see like the security guard kind of block it and jump on him. So yeah, he's like under fire for that. But let me show you, because like he posted himself like at the club afterwards, like showing that he was like untouched or unscathed. DJ Academics had this post up. So it shows like what happened when they swung on him and stuff like that. Tell me what you think about that. 6ix9ine's latest antics. Okay, here we go. I don't know if you saw that. I'll play it again.
Yeah, it's a dark video.
Now watch, you'll see the swing. You see that?
Yeah.
So this is him afterwards, listening to 50 Cent. Then he went to another club. Taking pictures.
Not a mask in sight. Listen. Listen, he's going to be who he is. At the end of the day, whether I know that obviously the street culture, not even to get into all that, they have a problem with it. But this guy here he's playing
with fire.
He's playing with fire, but he's playing what he knows. Again, part of his popularity is social media. Like a lot of these artists that are in his age bracket and in his demo, he's doing what he does. But
he's taunting people in the process. Like you taunting Lil Durk, you setting up the fake Lil Durk to taunt the real Lil Durk.
This is who he is. What is he going to do, Angie? This is what he's going to do.
Well, this is what I told Wack. I said in Clubhouse yesterday, I'm like, you're going to have to talk to him, because here's the thing. All the trolling that he's doing online is antagonizing people and enticing hate towards him. He's bringing this on himself. People already don't like you when you came out because you was a rat. And now you effing with people. And now, of course, somebody gonna try to swing at you at the club, swing on you at the club. This time, the person didn't connect. I don't know. It looked like the person might have connected or didn't.
He don't walk by himself. It's a reason why he doesn't walk by himself. If he's under Whack and working with Whack, this is all choreographed. This is not just him.
Well, the thing about it is, Whack was saying, like, look, I got business dealings with him, but when it comes down to his antics and what he's doing with the trolling, he don't consult me first. He don't tell me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he does these things, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's telling Whack what he's doing. Whack has an influence on him, but it's not like Whack. That whole thing that they framed, the fake little Dirk. That was unnecessary to put that jacket with King Von on the kid. You know what I'm saying? Like little things like that. Wax said he didn't know he was going to do that and certain other things. You know what I'm saying? But he's looking for trouble. He's been
looking for trouble. This is not. But I'm trying to say this is not new. So I mean, it's not. Doesn't mean it's right. But he enjoys the drama.
Yeah.
I mean, He and there's people who will follow him just because what he does, and that's what he loves, that attention.
Yeah,
you know.
Ugh.
It's a different era. We come from a different world, Angie. And again, like I said, what we see. I mean, obviously, we know like there's older people who still do this, but who's turning the wheel are these younger artists in this lifestyle, and they're gonna do what they do.
I guess. Ugh. Next.
And that's why, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of them perishing because of when art imitates life.
Yeah, true that. That's a mess. All right, next. This is the last story I wanted to cover. Guns found in ASAP Rocky's home. Are you aware of what's going on with this story over here?
Yeah, I mean, ASAP's been it's been a snowball. Of things. And
so the latest with ASAP Rocky is he's out on a $500,000 bail.
Right.
One of his accomplices or friends ratted on him and said that he bust a gun at him during an argument and that a bullet grazed his hand. One of his other friends came out and said ASAP so-and-so told on ASAP Rocky. Shooting happened in November. ASAP Rocky got locked up coming back from Barbados with Rihanna. He's out on $550,000 bail. The cops searched his home. They found guns. However, the guns that they did find was not
related
to the case. But then I just heard also now they have this alleged case, this alleged shooting on tape. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that if ASAP did do it, I don't think he'd be stupid enough to have a smoking gun in his house if he allegedly committed a crime. You know,
but I just, again, like I said, this is when you have a situation like he's experienced, they're gonna always be on you now. And again, we're having a conversation. Why is the guy that's the meal ticket holding all the armor?
And his friend told on him. He's trying. This is a cash grab, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Why are you telling on him now? Why didn't you tell on him in November?
It's a lot of jealousy, and a lot of hate. But again, he should have people for that. Because again, if something happens, it's on him. You know, he's the name, he's the meal ticket. There's people eating off him. So if you got a team, and unfortunately, these guys just have hang-oners. But you got a team. Somebody's got to be control of the security. They got the stuff. He should be squeaky clean.
And not only that, but if I was a celebrity and I didn't feel, because I do know people who are of a celebrity status, especially out in LA, they don't feel safe in their homes. You know what I'm saying? Because they live in the hills somewhere, and fans can go on any type of internet site and find out where you live. And there's a lot of home invasions and whatever. And unless you have, I know some people that had to hire 24-hour security. And even in some of those, like they would have security outside that would change shifts. And even, they would spend so much money on security 24 hours. Even if you hire 24 hours security, I mean, look at Kim K. If they still got to her, you know what I'm saying, in Paris, whatever. Sometimes the security be down with it, whatever the case may be. I'm thinking he might have had, and again, this is speculation, if he did have guns, hopefully they were registered and hopefully he had them because he didn't feel safe when he was by himself in the house.
Right. Right.
You
Well, I
know?
mean, California gun laws are not as strange as New York, but what I'm trying to say is that at this level, and I understand, like a lot of the artists, the reputation has to portray the image, right? You know, um, you have to have this persona in order to sell your music or whatever, to be engaged with your audience. But when you get to this level here, and you live in the hills, right? You live in the projects, you ain't live in the hood, you live in the hills. You need to have investments in place on security.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the beast. If you was in the street, you would have a situation where there's certain costs you got to have. Well, once you make it to that level, it's certain cost you have to have, because this is just the way you have to do business in life. And now he's in a situation where he's dating one of the most preeminent figures in the world. You don't think, oh, I'm a carry the guns? No, it don't make sense. So what I'm trying to say is that some of these guys really need to kind of check themselves and realize that, Joe, I am a target. I'm a celebrity. Not just me. The people I'm close to are bigger names than him. So
I mean, look what happened to Pop Smoke up in the hills in California. If he would have had guns on him, he would be alive.
Or again, or even if he just had security base. You can't do this stuff alone once you reach a certain height. Rest in peace, Pop Smoke, a guy that was so talented. But again, if you got a gun, you remember Belly? Guy had guns, and he still get. So what I'm trying to say, you can't, once you get to a certain status, you got to understand, unfortunately, jealous ones will envy. People are going to come after you, and it's unfortunate, because it almost deters some folks. Say, well, I didn't want to get to that point because your life changes. But listen, you having a child by Rihanna, life has changed. So
I heard that she had the baby shower scheduled, and they couldn't even do that. They had to cancel that.
You don't live a normal existence. And while yes, there are people who don't have what they have. Oh, they got money, they got fame and fortune. There's people who have fame and fortune. I just want to go to the store, be regular. I just want to go get a cup of coffee in the morning. I just want to go jog. I just want to, again, we all want what everybody else has.
Right.
And, but again, they got to realize at the level they're at is that, I'm not the same street cat. That's why I give Jay-Z a lot of credit, because Jay has turned himself into a Mongol.
But Jay had his times before he got there.
Right.
Let's not forget the Kit Kat Club. Let's not forget, Jay on camera snuffing that, and I love Jay-Z. Y'all see him? Hold on. Y'all see him? I love Jay-Z. But I was around in the 90s when he had his times.
Right. But the 90s times, the times with Rivera, those times, Jay-Z was not Jay-Z's worth now. Okay, ASAP Rocky is having a child by Rihanna. Rihanna is on a whole. You don't see Beyonce carrying the gat. You know what I mean?
That's because Jay-Z was lucky enough to make it to where he's at. Had Jay-Z got caught up during those times that he was wilding and he was Jigga Man, he wouldn't get to see where he is now.
Right.
So
you put ASAP Rocky now. ASAP Rocky is bigger than what Jay-Z is. What Jay-Z was in the 90s. So what I'm trying to say, if you take
Rihanna out of it, no.
Right. Well, but Jay wasn't dating Beyonce then. Jay was, the superheads of the world. So what I'm trying to say, when you take apples to apples, okay, you take ASAP, where ASAP is now, and let's take the city clubs and all that stuff that Jay-Z, the country club Jay-Z from the 90s, right? Rocky is bigger than what Jay-Z was then.
But you also got to take into consideration Rocky's age. Jay-Z at 27 was wilding. You understand what I'm saying? Jay-Z is 50-something now. Jay-Z didn't get on until he was 27, and he was wilding into his 30s. A$AP Rocky is not even in his mid-30s yet. Right, so I think age has to do with a lot of this stuff. People have growing pains, and just because they got money and just because they are a public figure with money and fame doesn't mean their brain is thinking like a 50-year-old.
You got to grow up quick, because you won't. You know what? The one thing about entertainment is they don't need you. They'll find somebody else. There's always somebody ready to come up. So if you think that your music is the cure for cancer, it's not.
Right.
So you better grow up quick.
Well, they already got Travis Scott, so A$AP Rocky. Nah, I love A$AP Rocky. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? He's from New York, and you know what I'm saying? He's dope, and but this is not looking good for him, and it's really stressful on Rihanna having to cancel her baby shower. He got a baby on the way. He's trying to live right. He's trying to, do his thing, and you got hating people.
You gotta leave that stuff in your rear view. And
Yeah.
you got to realize that, I can't move the same way I move. I put all this work, I put all this effort, I put all this energy to be great. And I'm gonna let a situation like this take me down.
Right.
It's bigger. Like, yo, man, they don't need you. These guys are printing. These guys are doing music. These are not like your, in the studio printing their own music artists. These are not guys buying BDS streams. These are guys that have investments. They have investors. They have labels. So it's a lot of layers. So you're gonna have to grow up. It's just like a kid who plays sports. That's LeBron James at 18 years old becomes one of the biggest faces in basketball. Well, did that mean I go still wild out in the street? No, I'm not saying you don't lose some of that. You lose it quickly, but you have to put yourself around buffers. And that's all I'm saying. That again, you can use the age thing if you want, but you're gonna be right back in the street because at the end of the day, they don't need you. You got fans today in the mall; they'll all be gone. We see how sheep can turn on you based off the perception of media.
Right. I've lived long enough to see rappers like when you look at Snoop Dogg, murder was the case. He beat a murder trial. I mean, a lot of these public figures that you see today that got to a certain caliber, they all wild out. But they either skip murder trials, they was indicted for whatever. Club indictments, hitting somebody on camera. Unfortunately, it's the growing pains when you're younger. So are you going to make it? You got some rappers who unfortunately don't make it. They die. You have some rappers that unfortunately get incarcerated. And you have some rappers that actually wild out and beat cases and change from there. Let's hope after this, A$AP Rocky is one of those people that are able to get over on the other side and continue up. Let's hope this doesn't take him down. But we could go as far back to Ice Cube, to Snoop, to Jay-Z, to all of them. They all been through it. Dr. Dre, all of them.
Right, but it's a different world now. They didn't, when the Snoop trial and Jay-Z's issues, Ice Cube and NWA, there was no internet. There wasn't no 24-hour media stream. Could you imagine if they had Twitter and Instagram when Snoop was in trial? Could
Definitely
you imagine the situation when Dr. Dre and NWA had their gripe, Death Row? Again, it's a different world. And I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not even saying that.
I just feel like each generation they're gonna do it. So even if when A$AP Rocky turns 50, it's gonna be a generation of rappers coming up behind him that's gonna get themselves into the same stuff.
True. But also you gotta realize, and this generation knows that everything is recorded. We lived in a time where you can do dirt and maybe you had a good chance of getting away. You have zero chance of getting away from anything in these day and age.
That's true.
If somebody wants to find you, they're gonna find you with whatever, through your phone, through banking, through scan. They got facial recognition. They got so much stuff out here. You can't do anything.
That's true.
This generation grew up in a time where everything is broadcast.
Right.
They were the first ones, putting their Fruit Loops on Instagram. Oh, I'm eating cereal. So they understand that. So with that knowledge, you have to realize that, everything is televised. So if I do something, I'm carrying something, I'm doing something, the chances are I got a good chance of getting caught. Almost to the point where now they even put their own crimes on social media.
Yeah,
because they know that exactly. So when you get to a certain point, you got to start to revert yourself. Whether you're like a child actor, if you're 15 and you're making X amount of dollars, well, you just might not be able to go to the local high school because again, the game changes. Doesn't mean it's right, but your world will change. And A$AP and a lot of guys like that have to realize that the same things I was hugging the block and all that, that's got to end because the block ain't going.
I've been hugging the block. That's right, hustling rock.
She gonna touch it and not.
Baby girl, you know what? Tell that to another sucker. Man, listen, prayers to everybody involved with the ASAP Rocky situation.
No doubt.
We definitely sending our prayers out. That's
got
gonna
a
do it.
child coming in the world, man. Gotta be better, baby.
I know. Well, that's gonna do it for us, Kev. We got another episode under our belt. What are you gonna plan on enjoying your weekend?
Yeah, Saturday mornings means recording with the best team in radio, 950 Lounge. And again, you can catch that show every weekday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern.
Yes.
On multiple platforms. You catch our podcast, wherever you catch your podcast at. Very soon, streaming TV. And I'm working on something else I really can't discuss on air, another TV outlet. So a lot of things in the tray. And again, excited for the future.
I'm gonna come see y'all soon on a Saturday. I want to come back to your podcast.
Please
be
do.
A guest.
The door is always open. You just gotta tell me you're coming and
I'm definitely gonna pop out. Make sure y'all follow Kev at 950 Kev. Check him out on all his platforms, guys. Make sure you connect with me on Instagram at Angie's World Podcast. Shout out to my Twitter family. Shout out to my Facebook family, my Instagram family. My Clubhouse is at Angie's World. YouTube.com/Angie's World, Spotify, Apple, all the streaming platforms. Thank you guys so much for the support, for everything that I have going on. I really appreciate y'all checking for me. That's going to do it for us. Y'all make sure y'all have a good weekend. Don't forget on Sunday, come back. Usually I drop in the morning. Usually I try to drop at like 10 o'clock. I don't want to drop too early. I drop a brand new interview.
10 a.m. Eastern.
10 a.m. Eastern every Sunday on youtube.com/Angie's World. And then a few days later, I drop the audio. I got somebody really dope that I'm dropping on Sunday. I try to talk to people from all genres of life. So this one is the first of its kind that I interviewed for a certain field of work that I haven't interviewed yet on my show. And make sure y'all check it out. We up out of here, Kev. I always say this, you could be anywhere in the world, but you decided to be in Angie's World. And for that, I love you. Have a good weekend. My name is Angie, aka Angie's World, and that's Kev, and we out of here. Deuces. Have a good week.